Hello, hello. Good morning, all. Am I audible? Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning. We shall start the session in less than 1 minute. Hello, hello. Good morning, all. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning. We shall start the session in less than 1 minute. Good morning, friends. Good morning to one and all. I welcome you all on this 5-day STTP on essential Python libraries for machine learning, data visualization, and data analysis from 16th of June to 20th of June. We shall start today's session with prayer. So let us all pray together.
या कुन्देन्दुतुषारहारधवला या शुभ्रवस्त्रावृता या वीणावरदण्डमण्डितकरा या श्वेतपद्मासना या ब्रह्माच्युतशङ्करप्रभृतिभिः देवैः सदा वन्दिता सा मां पातु सरस्वती भगवती निःशेषजाड्यापहा.
Okay, now I would like to invite our HOD sir, Mahendra Khampadia sir, to give a welcome address. Mahendra sir.
Good morning, friends. Before we start, heartfelt tributes to the victims of the Ahmedabad plane crash. Our prayers are with their families during this tragic time. May the departed souls rest in peace, and may the Almighty give their loved ones strength to bear this pain. We shall keep silence for 2 minutes. Oh. Good morning, everyone. It is a moment of pleasure for me to welcome you all to this 5-day short-term training program on essential Python libraries for machine learning, data visualization, and data analysis, organized by the Department of MCA, LDRP, Institute of Technology and Research. That will be from 16 to 20 June 2025. First of all, I sincerely thank our chairman, Sri Vallabhbhai M. Patel, sir, our principal, Dr. Gargi Rajpura madam, and all the organizing committee members for their continued support in making this event a reality. On behalf of the department, I extend a warm welcome to our eminent resource persons, Mr. Milan Odedara, Dr. Meghna Patel, and Dr. Disha Parekh, all the distinguished participants, and my dear faculty colleagues and students. At LDRP-ITR, we continuously strive to bridge the gap between academics and industry. This STTP is a step forward that goal empowering our faculty, students, and researchers with the tools that are not just current but also critical for the future. Proudly, I would like to announce that we have got more than 230 participants with those who are registered in this STTP. This STTP is specifically designed to provide hands-on knowledge and practical exposure to the most essential Python library that form the foundation of modern machine learning workflows. I encourage all the participants to make the most out of these 5 days. Engage actively, ask questions, share your ideas, and most importantly, practice whatever you have learned from here. Once again, welcome to this enriching journey of learning and innovation. Thank you and wishing you all a productive and insightful week ahead. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much, sir, for this welcome speech. Now, friends, I would like to invite Professor Kinjal Patel, ma'am, to introduce our today's speaker. Kinjal, ma'am.
Thank you, sir. Am I audible, sir?
Yes.
Okay. Good morning to all participants, faculty members, and our esteemed guests. As we know, in today's digital age, Python is one of the most powerful and widely used programming language, especially in domains like data science, artificial intelligence, and machine learning. This STTP aims to provide participants with a knowledge and practical exposure to popular Python libraries such as NumPy, Panda, Matplotlib, Seaborn, and Scikit-learn, which are the critical for building the data-driven solution. We are honored to have with us our esteemed expert, Mr. Milan Odedara, as esteemed alumnus LDRCA and currently serving as Engineering Manager at Trellissoft. Mr. Milan, with him over a decade of rich industry experience, at present he leads 60 members across functional team delivering impactful projects across the multiple domains with flagship such as Pulse AI under his leadership. Throughout his career, he has contributed significantly across roles, from building a scalable web application to lead a large development team, implementing CI/CD pipeline with the Docker and the Kubernetes, and mentoring engineers across the organization. Insights from real industry challenges and technological solutions will be immensely valuable to all of us. As are one of successful alumni, his presence here today is inspiring and shows the success that begin at LDRP. Once again, I welcome to all of you. Look forward to a fruitful and engaging session ahead. Now, I hand over this session to the expert. Once again, I am welcome Milan. Mr. Milan, and hand over this session to again Prantav sir.
Thank you very much, ma'am, for the wonderful introduction of our speaker, who is our alumni as well. Now, friends, before we start with Milan sir, brief information about this, how this STTP will continue throughout these 5 days. We have overwhelming support in this STTP, and we, as sir said, we have more than 230 participants. तो हमने क्या किया हुआ है, वी आर प्रोवाइडिंग यूट्यूब लिंक. तो यूट्यूब लिंक के अंदर फ्रेंड्स आप लोग कम्युनिकेट नहीं कर सकते हैं एक्सपर्ट से, बट वी ऑल आर गैदर्ड इन व्हाट्सएप ग्रुप. सो शून वी अभी ऐसा ही है व्हाट्सएप ग्रुप के अंदर, कैन सेंड मैसेज, लेकिन अभी हम ओपन फॉर ऑल कर देंगे. तो ड्यूरिंग सेशन अगर किसी को कोई डाउट है, डिफिकल्टीज है, तो वो व्हाट्सएप ग्रुप के अंदर अपना पॉइंट जो है वो रख सकता है. इफ टाइम परमिट्स एंड इफ इट इज फिजिबल, एक्सपर्ट जो उसको देख के रेक्टिफाई करेंगे. वन मोर थिंग कि आपको ये यूट्यूब का जो पूरा रिकॉर्डिंग है, यूट्यूब का लाइव जो है उसका रिकॉर्डिंग भी पूरा मिलता रहेगा. सो इफ यू हैव मिस्ड सम ऑफ द पॉइंट्स ड्यू टू सम टेक्निकल एरर, इंटरनेट नहीं आया, एंड व्हाट्सएवर द प्रॉब्लम, यू कैन गो थ्रू ऑल द कंटेंट्स. यूट्यूब के अंदर सारे चीज़ अवेलेबल रहेंगे और हम उसकी लिंक भी प्रोवाइड करेंगे. आफ्टर कंप्लीटिंग ऑल 5 days, we will share all the material and the deliverables जो भी एक्सपर्ट ने आपको ये सेशंस डिलीवर करने के लिए लिया, आपको शेयर किया, आप हमसे ऑर्गेनाइजर्स से जो शेयर करेंगे, that we will share with you. Friends, I would like to share one image which I have just I am about to complete. ये what is the importance of this STTP? ये एक इमेज है जो मैंने देखी थी लिंक्डइन पे, तो वहां से लेके मैंने आई थिंक के आपके साथ शेयर करूं बिफोर वी स्टार्ट विद दिस एसटीटीपी. पाइथन फॉर एवरीथिंग. तो आज का जो हमारा सेशन है वो है पाइथन के ऊपर, पाइथन क्रैश कोर्स. यू आर सपोज टू गो थ्रू पाइथन. पाइथन क्या है वो सारी चीजें आपको आ जानी चाहिए. तो पाइथन को साथ अगर आप पांडा को ऐड करते हैं, सो दैट विल मेक डेटा मैनिपुलेशन. पाइथन के साथ साइकिट लर्न तो मशीन लर्निंग, पाइथन के साथ टेंसर फ्लो तो डेटा डीप लर्निंग, एंड सो ऑन. सो आउट ऑफ ऑल दीज थिंग्स we are going to cover up today Python. So see, Python is everywhere. Or in upcoming sessions we will also cover NumPy, which is very basic library. उसके बाद पांडा को हम कवर करेंगे, सीबॉन एंड मैटप्लॉइट. तो इतनी लाइब्रेरीज हम कवर करने वाले हैं इन दिस थ्रू आउट STTP. These STTPs specifically our targeted audience is MCA semester 3 students जो machine learning subject पढ़ने वाला है in their curriculum. So thank you very much all of you, one and all who joined with us. Milan sir, now dais is all yours. Thank you.
Yep. Thank you, Prantav sir. First of all, I would like to thank all my faculty members, Prantav sir, Mahendra sir, Angel ma'am, and all those members to giving me an opportunity to give this session regarding Python. Okay. So today I will be covering Python and basics of the Python, right? So I'll be assuming that since you are the student from graduate or postgraduate programs in computer, you will be knowing at least one programming language, right? And Python, I will assume that you may not have any knowledge, right? So with that assumption, I will start. So let me just share my screen quickly. Okay, I hope my screen is visible. Hello.
Yes, Milan, screen is visible.
Okay, all right. Okay, so the agenda of the session is we will be getting started with Python with introduction and basic construct of the Python. Then we will go into variables, data types, uh, then operators, conditions, and iterations, then list comprehension. Then we will go through functions, user defined as well as inbuilt function, and classes and methods. Okay. Okay. So first of all, just some history regarding Python. So Python was invented by the person that you see on the screen, right? Guido van Rossum. He was from he's from Netherlands, and he invented Python in 90s. So you can see around it's been around almost 35 years, right? So it's been there from quite a long time, and now especially from past 10-15 years it is getting a lot of traction, right? Now it was named after his favorite TV show Monty Python, right? And from the beginning itself it was open source, so one of the reason for its popularity today, right? And it is scalable and object oriented from the start, right? And Python has been used by many major company, you name it, Facebook, Google, Spotify. So anything that is mission critical is there. Python has been used, right? So what are the features of Python, right? So first of all, Python is easy to learn and use. So the syntax of Python, you will see that it is the syntax of Python. If you see, it will be very much similar to like how we write a pseudocode, right? So it is easy to learn. So anyone, let's say, if someone does not have any knowledge of the programming language, they will be easy to get started with it. Okay? There are no complex syntax, anything like that. So it is easy to learn and use. Then it is cross-platform. What I mean by this is, uh, with Python, you can create multiple different application across platform. When you write a code in Python, it can run on Mac, it can run on Windows, or it can run on any other OS, right? As long as Python runs there. Okay? It is free and open source, right? Anyone can use it. Then it is object-oriented language. Then large standard library. So this is one of the reason why Python is so popular today, because of the large support of the library. So when you try to solve real world problems, there are two things that you need to have. One is libraries to support you. You may have a different use case, right? You may have a use case in AI. You may have a use case in, let's say, desktop application, right? So if you are building any component and you don't have a library for that, right, it becomes hard, right? But with Python, you have a lot of libraries created by developers over the years. So pretty much anything that you want to do, right, you will have a library for that, right? You have a solid framework in terms of web, in terms of mobile, in terms of automation, that are time tested, right? So uh, very important. And one of the lists that Brantav sir had shown, right? You have scikit-learn, you have pandas, numpy, all those library. So that is very important. And second thing is community support. So if you are stuck somewhere, right, or if you need any help, right, or you need to learn something regarding Python, right, so you have to have a strong community also, right? So if you feel stuck, if you need to know something, need to learn something, you get a resource, right? So having a, if you want to use Python for long term project, these two things are very important, and which is there, right? And memory management, Python is very efficient in memory management. And most of the time you don't have to worry about memory management as well, right? So these are the features of Python. Okay. And what are the uses of Python, where Python is used today? So first one is desktop applications. You can write desktop application with Python. Um, One of the popular library or framework for this is PyQt. You can write desktop application with Python as well. Web application you can write, which is very popular. Some of the popular framework are Python, Django, Flask, Fast API, right? So with this you can write web applications as well, and these are the framework that I have personally used as well, especially Django and Flask. Okay. Then data science, you can use Python if you want to do any data processing, uh, number crunching, anything like that. You have a libraries that supports you with that. Then it can be used for game development, and machine learning, artificial intelligence. So in recent days, if you have noticed, AI is getting a lot of traction, right? Any developer who is starting with AI, the first choice for them is Python. The reason for that is because, as I earlier mentioned, support and libraries that are available with Python. So chances that, let's say, if your web application, if you already have a web application which is running on a Java, on PHP, and if you want to add anything regarding AI to your application, then Python will be the first choice, right, in terms of microservice or things like that. But generally, if you are interested into AI and ML, Python is very much helpful to you. Okay? So these are some of the uses of the Python. Okay. So now let's dive into Python language, right? So first of all is Python syntax, right? Now, before we go that, right? So let's start with how to run a Python program, right? I have highlighted the syntax, but where to run? So there are two ways you can run this Python program. So first one is in your maybe in your local system, in newer version of OS, Python is already installed, right? So let me just show you. Let me open one command prompt. Okay. Okay. So if you are in a Windows, you can open a command prompt. If you are using Linux, then terminal, okay, Linux or Mac, right? You can just try searching for, let's say Python dash dash version, right? And it will tell you which version of Python is installed in your system. If Python is not installed on your system, you can just go to python.org and download particular version of the Python, which is latest. So in Python, there are two popular versions. One is Python 2 and another one is Python 3. So Python 2 was widely used, but its support for security and everything is ended in 2020. So chances are you will be using Python 3 only. Okay. So when you download the Python and install it in Windows, edit. There will be an option in installer, um, a checkbox with add Python into your path, right? So if you do that, you will be able to access it via command prompt. So I'll not going into each installation step. I think you guys can do that, right? We will be going with a different way of executing Python programs today, but this is what I, if you want to install it and run it in your local machine, this is the way to do it. So now, let's say if you have a Python installed, right? So how do you run a Python program, right? So take any text editor, right, and create any file. Let's say hello world.py. Okay, and here I will just write a print statement, print hello world. Okay, I will just save this file, okay, for simplicity. And what you will do is just type python hello world.py, okay, and it will give you an output over here. Now there may be chances that if Python is not working for you, then you may try with Python 3 dash dash version, and it will give you almost similar output. In some systems it is available as Python 3. Okay, so this is how you run a Python program in your local machine. Okay. Now, what we will be doing today is we will be using something called Colab. So Colab is a platform created by Google, which allows you to run what is called Jupyter notebooks. So Jupyter is itself a standalone program which Google has created a wrapper for, right? So what you do is you can for follow me along with our today's example, and if you want to practice with me, what you can do is you can just go and search for Google Colab, something like this. Okay, when you click over here, okay, so there is a link I have sent everyone uh, in the WhatsApp uh, for one PyNB file, right? What you can do is you can just come over here and browse. Click on browse. Okay, and you will see a screen something like this. Okay. So I will give you guys 1 minute to do this setup so that it will be easier for you to follow me along. I have pasted the link again, and Okay, I hope everyone got it. If not, then you can just simply do online Python compiler, something like this, and pick anyone. And you will be able to just execute the programs. Okay? And run over here, and it will. Okay. So to follow me along, I would recommend Google Colab, not Google. Okay. So let's get into the session. So to start with Python, first of all, it is important to understand the syntax of it, right? So the syntax of Python is designed to be like readable and concise, right? Some other languages like Java, C++, it uses brackets to identify the block of code. In Python, it is done by indentation. So over here, if you see, I have this core variable, I have this if condition. Now instead of curly braces, I have just this colon, and then there is 4 spaces over here and print statement similar to this over here as well. Okay, so Python code block is defined by 4 spaces. 4 spaces is recommended, right? um, any block, uh, right, it start with colon, right? So wherever you see colon, after that the new block will start, right? The end of the line will be considered the end of the statement. You can put a semicolon there, but it is optional in Python. If Python interpreter encounters any new line character, it will stop the execution for that line right there. Okay? If you want to put semicolon, you are free to do so, but it is not required. Okay? So next important thing is print function. So as you have seen, I have written one print statement in the file that I have created. So what is the syntax of the print function, right? So this is the full syntax. Generally you will not be using it most of the time. You will be just using this object part of it, right? So if you want to display any message on the screen, right, you will use a print function. So the full syntax is object. So whatever you want to print, it can be string, combination of string, similar to what you have in other languages as well. Then there is a separator, like after one text is printed, what is the separator? So default is space, right? Then end, how do you want to end the print statement? If the print statement has completed printing, it will add /n at the end. Okay. Then file equal to system.out, which is default. Okay. It will print in console. If you want to change it, you can do so. Plus equal to false, meaning whether you want immediate output or uh, delayed one when the process is complete. Okay. So let's look at one example. So on the screen, you see there is a basic printing, right? How you write a hello world, you do print hello world, and the output will be hello world. Now, if you want to print variable names, so how you can do it is, let's say name, age, you have defined as a variable name. You put a double quote, name, age, comma, age, and here separator also we have tried. So the output will be name, then separator, Alice, age, separator, Alice, right? Then custom and character, let's say if you, as I mentioned, when print statement completes, it prints one line, it will add a /n to the end, right? So if you don't want to do that, you can put end equal to whatever the character you want, and the output, as you see, you have put this to print statement, so it will print processing and done, right? Now there is another variant of print. It is not a variant of print, actually it is a variant of string, in which if you put f character at the beginning and then you put anything inside curly braces, it will be interpreted and displayed, right? So name is age years old into brackets, right? So the output will be Alice is 20 years old. Hmm? So this is just an example of print. Now let's go to our Colab notebook and try it out. Okay. So over here, I have one example already written to save some time, right? So let now in this notebook, if you want to execute any statement, what you can do is just enter, just do shift enter, right? Now first time it may ask you like no runtime is specified. You can click on notebook settings, select runtime as Python 3 and save. Otherwise it will automatically take Python as well. Okay, so hello Python. Now as I mentioned, right, indentation is very important, right? So let's say if I remove this, okay, and if I try to run it, it will run, right, because there is one indentation. Now let's say if I try print welcome to Python, and if I add one line of indentation, right? So now let's try to run it, right? So it has given me an error, that indentation error, unexpected indent, right? Why? Because both my statement are not in same indent. Okay, I can just do shift enter and I will be able to run it. Okay, if you want to add a new line to this, you can click on enter key and you can add as much line possible. Okay, next is let's say if you want to print any variable, right? Let's say n equal to 5. Okay, so what you can do simply here is, let's say you can just directly put 5 here and here. Okay, 5, welcome to Python. Next is you can use the syntax of interpolation like this and say n is the number, right? So 5 is the number. Okay? So this is how you can use the print statement. Right? There are certain arguments, as I have mentioned, generally which we will not be using it, but it is good to know that you can use in certain conditions. Okay, now let's go back to deck again. Now another important thing before we start writing code is to understand how to write comments, right? So comments in Python are generally of two types. One is single line comment, which is indicated by hash if you want to write a single line, and if you want to write multi-line comment, then what you can do is you can type 3 single quotes or 3 double quotes starting and ending, right? So that will be considered as comment. So now over here, here is one example. Let's say calculate the area of rectangle. You put hash here and it will be considered as a comment. Then over here you can write comment over here as well, right? Then multi-line comment, as you can see, you start with 3 double quotes and end with 3 double quotes. Whatever you write in between, it will be considered as a multi-line comment or a documentation comment. So let's just quickly try that as well. Okay. Let's say we say that, okay, here, okay, I think we have this Python comment over here as well, section. So this is a single line comment. Okay, if you run it, nothing will happen. Okay. Let me put print statement over here. Let's say just simply just say hello, and it will print hello. Okay, if the line is ignored. Now this is the multi-line comment. Okay, okay. So since this is the only line in the file or in the execution context, what it will do is it will print this type of content. If it is the last line that you encounter, Python will encounter. So what you can just simply do is either put any print statement or just simply put pass, right? And you run it. So now you will see that it has not considered. Now let's say if you have print statement, you can put print statement over here, right? So this is what a multi-line comment looks like. Okay. So far what we have seen is how to write a Python code like print statement, and how you write a comment. And what you have seen is we executing some code into Google Colab notebook. Okay. So if you don't want to use Google Colab, you can use Jupyter Notebook also, which you can download and install it in your local machine, and it will act similar to what we are using. So this Colab is just a Google's flavor of Jupyter Notebook, right? And Colab will give you much more computing power. Like let's say if you are doing any AI application and you want to use GPU temporarily, right? So you don't have to buy it, you can just use it with some free quota. Okay? So you can use Colab or Jupyter, anything, or you can execute your program. It is up to you locally. Okay. Now next, we look at what are the Python variables, how you can declare variables and data types. Okay. So Python variables, if you want to define a Python variable, first of all, you need to know the rules, right? What are the naming convention or rules for the Python variables? So it can consist of letter, number, underscore, right? Anything, but just that it cannot start with a number. Variable name, you cannot start with a number, right? And all the variable names are case sensitive, meaning uh, if you write variable n in small case and if you write variable n in capital, both will be considered different. Okay. So here are some of the good example name like spam x, spam 23 underscore speed. These are valid names. These are the bad names. You cannot have numbers at front, any special character at front, or any special character in the between also, right? And as I have mentioned, it is case sensitive. So all these 3 version of spam, all 3 are not same. Okay. Now, important aspect is the data type. So in other programming language, right, like C, C++, Java, what you do is you define a data type for a particular variable, something like this: integer a equal to 5, float b equal to this, right? So this will be checked at compilation time. Right now the Python is interpreted language, like it will be run at the interpretation time only. Right, so the advantage of this is the variables can be dynamically typed. Right, so for example, you don't have to type a data type. Like say if you say a equal to 5, a will be considered integer. If you say a equal to 0.12, so it will be considered float. And if you say hello, assign a to hello, right, assign hello to a, right, so it will be considered as a string. And you can even assign an array, or in this case a list, to the same variable. Right, so the Python data type you don't have to specify, it will implicitly uh, check the variable and use it. Okay, okay, now, so what are the different data types in Python? Okay. So in Python, data type includes primitive types such as integer, long, float, and complex. So this you will be generally not declaring it, but let's say if you want to check the type of it, or if you want to do any specific operations regarding data type, in that case it is good to know. Right, so here is an example. If you say x equal to 10, it is integer, y equal to 3.40, it is float. And if you do arithmetic operation, right, it will return you 13.14. Then string. So string, if you assign a variable with anything as in a double quote, it will be considered as a string. Right? List is something similar to array, right, but in Python it is ordered and mutable collection of items. So this we will get into detail. These 2-3 concepts are very important if you are working with libraries, dealing with data science. Right, so we will cover that. Right, so list, if you define anything between these two brackets, it will be considered as a list. Right, you can append items to the list, or you can print it as well. Right, then you can have a dictionary type data type. So these are all the uh, data types in the Python. Okay, so you can have a dictionary, the dictionary meaning key value pair, so that is also a data type in Python. So you can have a name, let's say Bob age 22, print statement. Right, you can access it via key. Then you can have a boolean data type. Boolean meaning true or false. So if you assign a variable with either true or false value, it will be considered as a boolean value. Then you can have a tuple, so which is a order and immutable list. Right, so what I mean by this is, if you create it once, you cannot change anything in the tuple. Right, so it will be created with this brackets. Okay? And then you will have a set. So set is something you must be familiar with the mathematical concept of set, right? So any value inside set will be unique, right? No matter how many times you enter one number, it will be considered only once. Right, so if that type of operation you are doing, it is with set. Right? So let's take some of the example, and then we go into more details on list, tuple, set. Okay, okay. So over here we have a section called variables. Right, so how you define variable is, you give it a name, put one space, equal to space, and assign it a value. So right now I have assigned it as a value Alice. You print a name and it will print Alice. Now let's say you want to create an integer. So let's say age equal to 25. You can do print age and it will print 25. You can even do like addition as well, like let's say mm, let's say sum equal to 1 plus 5. Okay, and instead of this you want to do just sum, right? So even though you have not defined any data type or anything, it will take it as a integer and convert. Let's say if you say, let's say 5.2, 1 plus 5.2, it is taken as 6.2. So here Python, what it is doing is it is implicitly converting the expression and then printing it, right? So you don't have to do any type conversion or things like that. Okay. So here is a number. Let's say if you assign a equal to 10. Now if you want to know what data type this variable is of, you can just use inbuilt function called type, give it a variable name and see. So the it is of class integer. Now let's say if you say b equal to 3.5, right? And if you say print type, you pass it a variable b, and what it will do is it will print you a class of float. Now in case of string, now let's also do print type str as, sorry, text as well, right? And with string what you can do is you can use a very method name upper to convert it to uppercase. So let's run it as well. So here first print statement prints type of text is str, and you notice that each of these, right, whatever is printed, it is mentioned as a class, right? So with class you get different methods. So these are not just uh, usual data types, right? It is implicitly converted to class, and with class you get a power of having different methods with the class. So that is why you are able to use it as a text dot upper to convert it to uppercase. Now with string you may want to do concatenation also of the string. You want to combine the two strings, so that you can do with just simple plus operator. You don't have to use any special methods or something like that. Python can implicitly do that, right? So here I have done welcome plus user, and you can do n number of concatenation similar to how you are using it for numbers, right? Okay. Okay, so these are the primitive data types. Now let's look at some of the special and very important data types in Python, which are list, dictionary, tuple, and sets. Okay. I'll take a pause of 10 seconds here. Okay, so now let's start with list. So what are the lists? So list are order and mutable collection of items. So meaning it is order. Order is important. In whatever order you add item into list, it is preserved, right? And in list you can add any data type values, right? And it is defined with square brackets, right? So the example of this is, let's say you are creating a variable called fruits. So you are adding apple, banana, and 42. So which is a valid way to do it, right? Then what you can do is you can append any items. If you want to add any item to the list after creation, you can use append method, right? If you want to print anything, let's say you want to print fruits of 1, right? So you can do that, right? Then let's say you want to print the whole list, so you can do print fruits and it will output you similar to how you do with array, right? And if you say let's say fruits of 0, you can assign any. Let's say I don't want apple, I want to assign it an orange value, right? So you can do that. So consider this as a equivalent to array that we use in other programming languages, right? So how do you access it is via index, right? Index starts from 0. You can use common method with this is like append, pop to remove element, sort to sort this array. Let's say you put any numerical items into this and you do list dot sort, you can do that. Then remove if you want to remove any element, right? So this will be used for mainly if you have a dynamic data and the order of the items is important to you, you can use that. If you want to check the list length, you can use len function, right? Len, you pass fruits, right? So this will be useful if you are using it with any loops or things like that, or if you in general you want to know the length of the list. Okay, so let's go to Colab notebook and try it out. So here we have list. So we have colors red, green. Okay, that's printed red and green. Now let's do append one items blue to the color. Okay, so let's try it. Okay, so red, green, and blue. Right. So uh, one important thing to note is the variable that you declare in this notebook will be preserved. Right. So even if it is a different section, you can access the values of the variable that you have declared previously. Now let's say, so here I have added 2 items blue. Now let me comment this out and let's try length. Print length of colors. Okay, it is 4. So this is how you define a list and manipulate it. If you, let's say you want to print zeroth element, right? That is red, right? So list as similar to array start with 0. I will take a pause here if anyone wants to follow along, and then we'll move forward. Okay. Next, we have dictionaries. So dictionaries is an unordered key value pair, and you can change it as well, right? So basically, in simplest term, if you want something to be stored as a key value pair, right? Let's say you want to create an object of a student, right? So you create a student object by writing student name Bob, age 22, grade whatever it is, and you can add as many keys as you want. Now you can create list of dictionaries as well, right? If you want to iterate over it, list of students, right? But in simplest form, you similar to how you do a JSON, uh, similar to that you can create a dictionary, right? So here we are creating a student object. Now if you want to access any value, then what you can do is you can just type a object name and then name of the key. So here if you type student name into brackets, it will give you output as a Bob because name's value is Bob. Then let's say you want to assign any value like to age 23. If you want to do, you can do it something similarly, age equal to 23 id. And if you want to print it, you can just simply do print student and it will print the entire object as an output. Okay, the only thing that you need to keep in mind while working with the dictionary is the keys has to be unique, right? Methods, if you want to work with dictionary which are important, is get. Then keys, if you want to get iterator of keys only, if you want to get the keys only. Then values, you can get the values only, and pop. Okay? And as I mentioned, if you want to have any associative data like lookups, you can use keys. Now best way to use or best way to retrieve any item from the dictionary is to use a get method. Why? Because if you pass any key which is non-existent in the dictionary, you will receive a key error exception. So it is always advisable to use .get method and pass it a default value, so that in case that key does not exist, then you don't get any error. Maybe you can pass 0 as a default value or none. So that way uh, your program becomes future proof in case any key is removed. Okay, so let's try out the keys dictionaries here. So for example, over here we have a simple dictionary with person name Bob. Let's add some more values. Let's say age 22, print person name. It has printed Bob. Now let's print the whole object once. Do shift enter, name Bob, age 22. Now, as I have mentioned, let's say instead of name, if I by mistake type name 1, let's see what happens. Right? It has thrown an error. Right? It is a key error. So what we can do is, instead of using this array notation brackets, what you can do is person dot get pass a key, okay, and even if I have not passed anything, it will return you none, right? But it will not throw you an error. So it is always advisable to use get method while working with dictionaries. If you want to, let's say, pass a default value, you want to return 0, right? If the key does not exist, you can do that. Okay, so this is how you can access keys. Now if you want to change any value, you can just pass in a key person of age equal to 30, and you can just print person, and the age of Bob is now, earlier it was 22, now it is 13. Okay. Now here is an example of boolean as well, as we have covered. If you do is underscore active true, right, it will return true, and you can use this as a in the if statement. Now let's look at another type, that is tuple. So I will take just a small pause if anyone wants to follow along with a dictionary example, and then we will move forward. Okay. Next, we have tuple. So tuple is ordered and immutable collection of items. What I mean by this is, once you create a tuple, you cannot change values inside it. Right? For example, tuple, how you define is with parentheses like this, right? Let's say you are setting some coordinates, right? So now, similar to other types, you can access the tuple with array notation with index. That if you use, let's say, coordinate 10 20 and say coordinates of 0, it will print 10, right? If you print coordinates, it will print 10 and 20, similar to how we have done previously. Now if you go and try changing the value, like coordinates of 0 equal to 15, you cannot do that, because as I mentioned, tuples are immutable. You cannot change the values inside tuple once you have set it once. Okay? And order is also important, right? Now let's say there is a scenario in which let's say you want to create a tuple, but you have only one item inside it, right? So what you have to do is, you have to add one comma in order to create a one value tuple. You generally don't need to do it, but just one gotcha that you need to follow. Then you can just do print a point. Okay. So important items, tuple is immutable. You cannot modify it after creation, right? If you want to represent any data that is fixed, you use tuple. The important methods are count and index, right? And the tuples are generally used for faster data processing, right? So if you use list versus tuple, even if you don't change the list in your program, tuples are generally considered faster, right? Because the way it is designed. So let's try tuple example out. Okay, so over here we have, let's say, point created as a tuple, right? So how you know it is tuple? You see this brackets, right? And we print point of 0, right? It has printed 1. Now if you just simply print point, it will print both. Okay, 1 and 1 2. If you want to know length of a tuple, you can just use length. Now let's try out one more thing here with tuple. Let's say I want to modify the point of 0. Let's try that. Right? So it has thrown me an error. Why? Because as I mentioned, tuples are immutable. You cannot change it. So tuple object does not support item assignment. I remove that and it will be able to run. Okay, so this is about tuple. Okay, now let's look at another one, that is set. But before that, we take a 5-10 seconds pause if anyone wants to follow along. Okay. Next, we have sets. So sets, as I mentioned earlier, you can think of this as a mathematical set operation, right? Whatever things are common, meaning unique, those will be considered, right? So it is an unordered collection of unique items. So you can consider that whatever you put inside set, it is not guaranteed that you will receive it in the same order. So order is not fixed, right? Now how you create a set is with two different ways. Either you use curly braces like this, right, or you use a method called set, right? How set method will be used, we will look at it, like why this particular type has a method as well, right? So here is an example, right? If you want to create a set, let's say numbers equal to, in curly braces, 1 2 2 3, right? So if you print these numbers, it will only print 1 2 and 3. Why? Because it has to be unique, so it will ignore any other two and only considered unique items. You can add items as well. Let's say numbers dot add 4, and if you print it 1 2 3 4, right? If you add 4 again 4 will be printed only once. Now there is another notation in set is called membership check, right? What you can do is you can type any member value, right? Let's say 2, and then do in and numbers meaning the set, like 2 in set, basically value in set, so it will return you true or false. So why sets are useful is because if you want to check that, okay, whether particular value is part of this set or not, so that you can do with in keyword by with the set. Okay, so this is a important notion to know. Okay, so few highlights. So sets, no duplicate value, no indexing, right? You cannot access any items via index. If you want to iterate, if you want to access the items in set, you have to iterate through it, right? You cannot use any index. Okay, then important methods are add, to add item to set, remove, union, and intersection, basically all mathematical operations. Then what we just check membership testing. If you want to test for membership, you can use this notation. Now if you want to convert a list to set, what you can do is you can use a set method and pass a list to it, and it will convert it to set and return back the values. Okay, so now let's look at the set in Colab. Okay, so here we have a set with number 1 2 2 3. You do print numbers 1 2 and 3. So sorry.
Hello. Adi. Ji.
Okay. So here, as we see, 2 is considered only once. Let's say I type 5 here, print numbers 1 3 and 5. So it will take only unique elements. Let's say nums.add 4, then it will add 5 also. Now let's try print. Let's say number 5 in nums. It is true, right? Because 5 is part of nums set. Okay. Now let's create one list. Okay, let's try that. Okay, let me add one code block, and let's say lst equal to 1 2 2 5 6. Okay, and if I do print set lst, right, so what it will do is, even though list, let me just print list as well. Even though list has elements as a duplicate 2 2, when you use a set method over here, it will only take unique elements and create a set out of it. So that is how you use set. Okay, okay, so we'll just pause here for a few seconds, and let's move forward with the new topic then. Okay, so here is a summary of what we have discussed for everyone's reference. So in case you want to revise it later, you can use this, because the knowing the difference between these 4 types, when to use it, how to use it, is very important. Okay, now let's move to another topic, that is conditions. So in Python, if you want to do any comparison, if you want to write conditions like if else, right, you can similar to any other language, you can do that. Here are the comparison operators in Python. So here we have double equals to, right, not equal to, greater than, less than, greater than equal to, less than equal to, and here is how you can use it. Now if you use equal to, right, in the condition, right, it will also evaluate to true or false only, okay, not an assignment. Okay, so here is an example of conditions. So if you are used to another programming languages like C++, Java, or any other languages, you will see that there is a little difference in terms of syntax, right? So here you have if, then direct if, then there will be space, and then there will be a condition, right? There will be no parentheses or things like that, right? And how the condition will end is with colon, right? Then immediately after that, in next line you put 4 spaces, right, or basically indentation, and write your logic, right? So for example, age equal to 18. If age is greater than equal to 18, then print you are eligible to vote, right? You can do nested if also. So age is greater than equal to 18, and let's say next line indent, you put if has id, right? Then you can do print entry granted, right? So this is how you write an if sentence. Then there are if else statement. So how you write if else is, you put if condition, similar to over here, you put else colon. So if condition is not true, else block will be executed, right? So here is an example: temperature equal to 15, if it is greater than 25, it is warm outside, if otherwise it is cool outside. Okay? Now another programming construct in condition is if elif, right? If you want to put multiple kind of if condition, right, then what you can do is you can do if condition instead of else if. Remember that it is elif, elif, and then you put the condition, right? And at the end you can, of course, you can put else block. So here is an example of that, right? Marks equal to 75. If marks is greater than equal to 90, print grade A. Else if, print this, or else print grade D or below, right? So I think this is pretty straightforward, since everyone has worked with the conditions. Okay, so we will not spend much time there, but we will just try it out once. Okay, so comparison operator. Let's say print 5 equal 5 is true. 5 is not equal to 3. It is true. Let's say 5 equal to 3. It will throw an error, right? Now if statement, x is equal to 10. If you put if space x greater than 5, right? So it will print greater than 5. Another example, if x is less than 5, it will print less than 5. And if x is equal 10, it will print equal to 10. Okay, so this is not true, it has gone to elif block. Okay? You can even put else block here. You can just do else print greater than 10. So let me just change x here to 11. 15. It is greater than 10, right? So if elif and else. straightforward. I hope that is clear. Okay. Next is iterations. So iteration meaning loops. If you want to iterate over elements in Python, right? What are the different ways you can do it? So first one is everyone's favorite for loop, right? So the syntax of for loop in Python is for variable in sequence, right? And then you put a colon and you hit enter, put indent, and then start writing your code. So over here, the important thing to note is sequence is not just array, right? It can be a list, tuple, string, or range function. A range function we will cover in a while after this, right? So you can iterate over string, tuple, or list. It can be anything, right? So here is an example. Over here, let's say for I in 3, 2, 1, right? This is a list, and you print I, right? And then let's say you print go, right? So what will happen is it will take 3, assign it to I, then print I. It will take 2, assign it to I, and print I. Okay. So important difference here is there are no curly braces, right? And with just simple 2 line of code, you will be able to write a for loop, right? Iterate over any array, and once it is complete, it will write go. So here is an output 3, 2, 1, and go. Another example of that could be, let's say you have a list of fruits, right? So let's say apple, banana, cherry. You put fruit in fruits, right? And then just do print fruit, and it will be the same, similar to how we have done it for other. Now, if you want to break out of the loop, you can use a break statement. If you want to skip to the next iteration, you can use the continue statement, similar to other programming construct. In Python also, it is same. So now let's look at uh, example of this. So for loop, okay. For I in range, let me change this to, let's say 2, 3, 4, 5, right? Print I, right? 2, 3, 4, 5. And another important thing to note is if you want to add multiple line of code, you can just do it like this. Okay, maybe let's say I can do something like this as well. Right. So I have put line statement. One thing to notice here is that let's say I have put a star over here, put a multiplier, and I is an integer, star is a string. So if you multiply string with any number, it will multiply that string, basically 2, 3, 4. It will multiply the string basically. So in case you are working with any matrix type of matrix printing, right, this will be helpful. Similar to that, we have a list of string which you can print. Okay. Maybe you can do what upper as well. So this is how you use for loop. Next, we have a range function. So range function, what it will do is it will be generally used with for loop, where you have a list of range to define. Let's say you want to generate 5 numbers, right? And you give a range a number 5, right? Then it will start generating a sequence from 1 2 3 and 4. It will generate 5 numbers, right? So uh, it has 3 arguments: start, stop, and step. So start meaning from where you want to start your sequence from. Maybe by default it is 0. Maybe you want to start it with 5, you want to start it with 10. Then stop, where exactly you want to stop generating this sequence. And then step. So steps is what will you add to this start, right? So for example, if step is by default 1, so if you generate sequence, then it will go 1 2 3 4, right? But if you say, let's say 5, right, then first it will generate 1, then it will 5 10 15 20. So those type of scenario, if you are dealing with, you can use a range function, right? So here is an example. For I in range 5, print I and end is space. Remember, in while we were looking at print function at that time, we use this argument, right? So if you put space over here, then print will not print in new line, it will print on the same line. So output 0 1 2 3 4. Okay, so it starts with 0, generated 5 numbers, and it ended at 4. Let's say you want to generate numbers from 3 to 7, right? So it will start from 3 4 5 and 6. Then for I in range 10 4 and -1. Now minus 1 is also a valid step. So instead of adding a value, it will subtract a value, right? So in this case, it will print 10 -1 9 8 7 5, and until it reaches 4, right? So the stop argument is exclusive, right? It will not be considered, it will be always -1. So just remember that part. Okay? So that's all about range function. Now let's try it out once. Okay, now over here, if you notice, I have a range and I also have a list, right? So in case I want to create a list and don't want to type something manually, I can just use the range function. So there, right? So it has created values 1 2 3 4. Now another example, range 1 to 10 and step up 2. So what this will do is it will take 1, then add 2, and again add 2, things like that. So 1 plus 2 3 plus 2 is 5, right? So this is how you create, or this is how you use a range function. You can use this with loop as well, as we have seen in example. So I will take a small pause here if you want to follow along and or read this. Okay. Next, we have while loop. So while loop, similar to for loop, it will evaluate the condition, and if it returns true, then it will continue the execution, right? Important thing about while loop is the condition. We have to make sure that it eventually becomes false to avoid infinite loops, right? So the syntax is while, condition, and code blocks. So condition can be anything as long as it evaluates to either true or false. Okay. So over here we have one example: count equal to 1. While count is less than equal to 3, it will print count, and we are doing count plus equal to 1. So what I will do is will print count 1, 2, and 3. Right? So just quickly we look at one example and then move forward. So over here we have I equal to 0. While I is less than 2, print I plus equal to 1, simple 0, 1. Now j equal to 2, while j, print looping, j minus equal to 1, is printed looping. Okay. Now let's say I want to use any break or continue statement. So let's say if I say I equal to 3, print I. If I want to put if condition here, I can put that if I is equal to, then continue. Okay, it has gone infinite. Okay, what did I miss here is okay. So as I mentioned, it has to reach to an end result. Okay, exit criteria should be met. Now let's look at another construct, that is loop control statement, right? So we have used continue, break, right? So continue we have used. So for example, if we have for I in range 1 to 6, if I is equal 3, continue. If I is equal 5, break. So this is how you use it. There are no semicolons required, right? So this will print number 1, 2, and 4, because when it reaches to 3 it will continue, and when it reaches to 5 it will break. Okay. So generally we don't use it, right? Because if we add control statement in a larger code base, it creates a confusion and adds to complexity. So use it whenever required, right? So it is important to know that it exists. So if it is required, we can use that. Okay. Okay. So next we have a list comprehension. So what it mean by list comprehension is, if you want to generate a new list, right, by applying any function to every member of an original list, right, that that is called a list comprehension, right? If you have a list, but to each member of that list you want to apply certain operation and then create a new list out of it, right? So then you will use the list comprehension. So it is why it is used. You can do the same thing with for loops as well, but it is easy to read, right? And you don't have to write multiple line of statement. You can make it work with just one. So syntax of this is very important. So over here we have two uh, variants, basically expression or name in list, right? So if you want to understand it, consider this portion like for loop, for name in list. This is like our regular for loop, and here we have expression, meaning the name, whatever value name receives, it expression will be evaluated against it, right? So here is an example. So let's say for elim in li, so li we have a list. So whatever value element elim receives, right, then it will go over here. So here what we are doing elim into 2, right? So how it will go is, first li is 3, first element is 3, it will be assigned to element, right? And after that this will go to element and multiplication will be done. So over here it will do 3 into 2 is 6. Then we have, there will be another element, that is 6. 6 into 2 will be 12, right? So similar to that, it will take all the elements value into consideration, apply this expression and assign it to numbers. So basically you have created an element which is double of this particular array, right? As I mentioned, same thing you can do with the loops also, but this is something that you can do with one line, right? It is easy to read, right? Some people will find it difficult to understand, but it depends, right? So this is how you do a list comprehension. Now there is another variation or addition to the syntax here. So similar to this, we have for in iterable over here expression, but there is also a condition, if condition, right? So what will happen now is, if once this loop runs, right, it will now check against a condition, and if that condition is true, then the value will be considered, right? So it will act like a filter. So the situation in which, let's say, you want to apply this to a list, but to only certain elements, right? So let's look at an example for a better clarity. So over here, let's say we have same list 1 2 3 4 5. Now we want to double the element, but even only if the number is an even number, right? So what we will do is, we have 4x in numbers. So basically it is this, right? X we will have 1 initially, and then over here what we have done is, we have put if x mod 2, if it is equal 0, then it will go for this x into 2, right? Basically exponent. So 1 1 more 2 is equal to 0. No, it will not be considered. 2 2 more 2 equal to 0. Yes, it is, right? So it will be considered into 2 into 2 is 4. Again 3 mod 2. No. 4 mod 2 equal to 0. Yes, that is. So 4 by 4 is 16. 5 again, it will be false, right? So this is how you add a condition for a list comprehension. Okay? Now another variant of this is, let's say you have a nested list, you have a list inside list. So how you will handle this is, first of all, what you will do is, for, let's say, sublist in nested, right? And again what you will have to do is for number in sublist. So first of all, you will get first list into sublist. And now again from sublist you will get a number out of it, and then you will print the number, right? So 1 2 3 4. So this is how you can use list comprehension to get the number out of nested list comprehension as well. Now even if you have another sub list inside this, you can add one more 4 and you can continue to do so. Okay, so this is how we handle a nested loops. Okay, so now let's take a look at some of the example. Okay, so here we have an example of list comprehension. So if you notice, we are using range function. This is to generate some value. So what it will generate here is 0 to 4, right? Then x into x. Okay, so 0 1 4 9 and 16. So now let's say instead of x into x, we do x plus 1, x plus x, right? So it will take 0, 0 plus 0 is 0, 1 plus 1, 2, 2 plus 2, 4. Okay. Now again, example of evens. So here we have x in range of 10. So it will generate 0 to 10, sorry, 0 to 9, as we have a range function, right? And then what it will do is if it will check for even number over here, and if that is true, then it will consider as a even. So for example, the program to write an even function, right, which you were earlier doing with one for loop, one if condition, and maybe one print statement, right? You can do that with just a single line of code. Okay? So that is how we do a list comprehension. Now I will take a pause here. If anyone wants to follow along or you know understand it, and then we will continue. Okay. Next, we will take a look at functions. So function, we have two type of function. One is inbuilt function that is provided by Python. So we have so far looked at len function, type function, range function. So these functions are inbuilt function. But what if we want to create our own user defined function in Python? So whatever the code we have written so far, we want to take it and put it in a function so that we can reuse it basically. So in Python, how we define a function is using keyword def, def, right, for short for definition. So if you want to invoke that function, we use the parentheses and invoke that function, similar to how we have used print function. That is also a function inside Python, inbuilt function, right? So the syntax of doing that is we have def, function name, and parameters. Now parameters can be any number of parameters, right? And then you put a colon, and then you start writing the code from next line with some indentation. Now if your function returns a value, you can return it with a return statement. It is optional, but you can do that, and there is no need to specify return data type here. As I have mentioned, in Python, data types are considered implicitly, right? So whatever the value you return, you can return. So here is an example. Let's say definition greet. Over here we have name, right? Name is an argument. So then return hello. It will print a name that we have received, and print greet. So over here, this is a function invocation. So we are calling this greet function and passing an argument to it, right? So it will call a greet function over here, and it will return this string, formatted string, and print function will print it. So it will return hello Milan. Okay. So let's try it out once, and then look at some other examples. So over here we have one example which we have tried. Let's say so over here we have a greet function. We have given a keyword def, greet, and name, and whatever the argument we are passing, it is going to write it down, right? We are then how we call it is with greet, whatever value we want to pass, and it will print it. Now let's say if I want to pass a second argument, something like this. Let's say I want to pass greeting also. Greeting and then name. So instead of this hello, I can just do greeting. Okay, I have missed passing an argument. Let's say hola. Okay, so any number of arguments you can pass. Okay. Now similar to that, let's say we have a addition program, add one a plus b, and let's say you want to return a value, as I mentioned, right? So you can do just return a plus b, which you can in turn print it. Okay. So over here now it will print 5. So this is how you print the values by using, like, let's say user defined functions. You can even write a custom logic over here. Let's say you want to put any for loop, if condition, things like that, you can put it. Then over here we have example of return values, right? So generally what you will be doing is apart from executing common code, you may be having some requirement to get the values back from the function. So how you do that is with the return function. We have already seen an example of this, right? Now let's say here is one more example. Let's say if you want to put if conditions over here in the code block, right? let's say you want to get a custom greeting out of language that you specify. So for example, we have greet function, you are passing en English, and to whom, it is the name of the person. So you are just getting passing en to greet function. It will check it. If there is an en available, no, it will print hello Glenn. In available, it will check it. Language equal to in, it will return namaste, and it will again print it, right? So I hope everyone has got idea on how to write functions, right? So now, by now, what we have done is we have looked at loops, conditions, how to write inbuilt, sorry, how to write user defined functions. We have used some of the inbuilt functions also. Now, now that our code is started getting big, right, now we know many things about Python, right? It is now important to understand that how to follow the best practices, right? So let me point you to that particular direction, right? So in Google, if you search for Python peps, right, Python peps, so you will be redirected to you will see the first result, Python enhancement protocol, right? So you click over here. So over here you have something called pep 8 style guide for Python code. So this style guide is written by the Python's author along with other Python developers, right? So this is the most commonly used and, and widely used Python style guide used today, right? So you can click over here and read this, right? So uh, you make sure that your code is properly structured, right? So for example, indentation. So from the beginning I was telling you put 4 spaces, right? But it is not required. You can have any indentation that you want as long as your statements are aligned. But having four spaces according to pep 8 standard is recommended, right, for the readability and usability purposes, right? So similar to that indentation, you have line length. So the recommendation is your maximum line length should be maximum of less than 80 characters, 7 9 character basically, right? Then line break, blank lines. So all this guide, whenever you get time, read it. It is important to understand this to be able to write a good Python code. Okay. Okay, so now let's get back to the presentation again. So another part of functions is inbuilt function. So far, as I have mentioned, we have used some of the functions um, which I have listed, and there are some functions which you may not be aware of so far, right? So I will give you guys a minute, read it. I think some of these are pretty straightforward, and then we can take an example of this as well in the Colab. So we have function, description, and example given as well. So these are the mostly used functions. Python has thousands of other functions. Okay. So at very high level, print len type we have used, integer float string. These functions you will use in case you want to explicitly convert something to any data type. Let's say you have a variable which is not created by you. Maybe it is coming from database or it is coming as a from a user input, right? So in that case, you may want to explicitly convert it to specific type that you want, because 5 can be put it into string as well, right? And if you want it as an integer, so you can convert it. Then list, tuple, set. I think set, list functions we have already used. Tuple is also a function if you want to convert. A range, we used sum, min, max, getting minimum or maximum number out of any numbers. Sorted, if you want to sort any list, we discussed this earlier, right? Uh, and then absolute, to return an absolute value of any particular value. Okay. Then we have another set of inbuilt methods which are also widely used. So if you know this method, basically it will be easier for you to uh, perform your coding operations. So for string, we have upper, convert this we have used. Split, if you want to split a string with specific character. Let's say you want to parse a CSV file, then you can just do split, comma, and you can convert it to array. Then we have append. Again, we have discussed earlier, if you want to append any items. Then we have pop. So if you want to remove an element and return it. So like in this list dot pop, you have 1, 2, 3, then it will output 3, and it will remove it as well. Then we have get function. So the data type of it is a dictionary. So this also we have discussed, right? If d dot get name, keys, if you want to get the keys of something in the dictionary. Set, we have add function. Okay. Now you can combine these methods as well. Here is one example. Let's say I have a string with the name Python programming. I have spaces at the front, spaces at the end. So what I can do is, if I want to clean up this string, right, and maybe convert it to lowercase as well, right, then what I can do here is text dot strip. So it will remove the spaces. Then dot lower, it will convert it everything to lowercase, right? And then dot split. So split I'm using as it. So it will split this string with space, right? And it will return me an array. Output will be Python and programming. So I basically got an array out of it. If I just wanted to get lowercase string, I will not use split and just I could have gone with lower. Okay? So you can basically chain or combine this method to achieve the results that you want in Python. Okay? Okay. So let's try out one example. Okay, so here we have a Python dot capitalize, right? So we have a string, and with that we are using capitalize method. So this we have not discussed, but what capitalize method does is it will convert the first character of a string to uppercase and return, right? Then we have a list in which we have append method. Okay, now let's say we try the trim method. Okay? Hello world dot trim. I think I made some mistake here. sorry, it is strip. Okay, so over here, what I have done is I have used strip method as in previous example, which is used to clean up the string. Okay. Maybe I can chain it with upper, and I can get the result in capital word. So this type of inbuilt methods we can use in Python. You can go through Python documentation for more details on what are the different methods that are available. So these are just some of the example of what Python provides. Okay. Now there will be some cases in which inbuilt function provided by Python is not enough, right? You may want to use other modules, maybe third-party library, or maybe some modules which are not directly available, right? So one such example is math, right? So in that case, what you have to do is you have to do an import for that particular module. So how you do the import is there are different syntaxes basically doing the same thing but with different ways, right? So first is basic import. You do import module name. Let's say there is a math module in Python, so you do import math, right? Example given here. So import math, print math dot square root of 16 is 4.0. Okay? Then you can import an alias, right? So import module name as alias. So basically you can refer it as a different name. So let's say if you want to import math but you want to call it something else, let's say import math as calculator, and then you can use calculator dot square root, right? Something like that you can do. Then if you want to import specific items, so let's say from module name import item. So here is an example, like from random import random integer, rand int, and then you can directly use this function to generate random number, right? So then we have import multiple items. If we want to import module name, from module name import item 1, item 2, right? So you can do multiple import as well, right? So here you have an example of that as well. Okay, so let's try it out quickly, and then we can take a short break as per schedule. So we have a import statement, import math, print math.py. So here is another variable available to us in math module to get the value of pi, so which is 3.14. If you want to use it, you can directly use as it is, right? So now let's say from date time import date time. That date time is a function. So date time dot now it will return me a current date and time as well, right? And date time is something that you will be using it widely when you start actively working in the project. It has multiple different methods which we can use to manipulate date and time related functions. Okay. So this is how you can use import. So if you want to import any third-party libraries in Python, there is something called pip. That is a package manager or installer. So you can do pip install any third-party library name, and you can basically use that library. And first of all, you have to import it, and then, like math, you can start using it. Okay. So with that, we take a short break. I will hand it over to Prantav sir and the faculties to give further instruction, and we will start our next session according to schedule. Yeah, over to you.
Okay, thank you, sir. Now we have a lunch break, short up 1 hour, and then after we again resume our session at 1 p.m. Okay, so we take a lunch break and then again start. Thank you all.
Thank you.